Right, ladies and gentlemen, so today we're going to be looking at a revision of a really important and incredibly useful idea, one that you're going to be able to use in lots and lots of answers in your Christianity and your issues papers. So make sure you've got with you a printout of the document, which of course you can get from the Google Classroom. Make sure you've got a pen to add some notes as we go, and make sure as well you've got a highlighter to highlight some of the key ideas. So what we are going to be looking at today is a word called agape, and this is a really important idea for Christianity. If you like, some people suggest that this is like the unique idea of Christianity. It is like the unique ethical teaching, and basically it is a word that means love. Okay, so it's a word in the New Testament which was written in Greek. There are many different words for love. Okay, and Greek is a word that enables you to talk about love in very different ways. So for example, we find words like philia, which means close friendship or brotherly love, storge, which means brotherly family love, eros, which is sexual love. Okay, but there's also agape. Now agape basically means loving like God loves. So let's think what that means and how Christians might know about it. Well, what it means is this idea of unconditional love. So you're basically loving somebody irrespective of how they treat you. Normally people love people who love them back. That's fair enough. But Christians are supposed to love people whether or not they love them. So let's look at this quote. This is from the teaching of Jesus in Matthew's Gospel. He says, "But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." So love your enemies, not somebody that you like, not your friends, not your neighbours, but your enemies. So Jesus is telling Christians they have to love everyone, particularly those people who disagree with or don't like them. It's also important to note that agape is self-sacrificial. It's a kind of way of giving yourself to other people. And Christians would say, well, this is something that Jesus shows when he gets crucified. He's giving his own life for everybody else. Okay? But we also find it in the Bible too. So if we look at Luke chapter 6, we'll see, "Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. If someone slaps you on one cheek, turn to them the other also. If someone takes your coat, do not withhold your shirt. Give to everyone who asks you, and if anyone takes what belongs to you, do not demand it back." So this business of agape is really quite a tough thing. It's not an easy way to love people. It's something that kind of puts yourself down and puts other people first. Okay? But it is something that many Christians believe is absolutely at the core of what it means to be a Christian. So some people say this is a radical new idea that Jesus teaches his followers. And of course, remember, as we've seen in other videos, and we've talked about a lot, Christians believe that Jesus is God incarnate. So this teaching of treating people with love, even if you don't like them, even if they're not nice to you, that's coming to Christians straight from God. Now you can see here we've got agape written in Greek. Now I don't expect you to remember how to write agape in Greek, but it's the kind of thing that if you're aiming for a high score you might want to do to impress the examiner. You certainly want to make sure that you're remembering one of those quotes. I really suggest Matthew 5:44 is worth making the effort to learn. Why is it worth making the effort to learn, I hear you say? Well, because you can use it in so many places. So let's look at the bottom of this diagram. I like to think of agape as the Swiss Army knife of ideas. You can use it in so many different places. Yeah? You can use it in so many different answers. So even in one exam, you might use it several times, and remember, every time you use it, provided you use it correctly, it's going to get you marks. The examiner's going to go, this person knows what they're talking about. So let's look at some of the ways we might use it, or Christians might use it. So, if we're looking at issues of life and death, okay, so we've just been studying, a lot of us, abortion and euthanasia, and one of the things that's come out very strongly is that some Christians say, particularly pro-choice Christians, it's important to be compassionate to those people who are considering abortion or euthanasia. That idea of compassion, of treating someone with love, even if you don't necessarily agree with them, that's agape. So if you use agape there, that's going to make your answer even better. We might be thinking of the idea of human rights and social justice. We know that Christians are really concerned with that. They want to make the world a better place. Why do they want to make the world a place? Because they want to treat everyone with agape. They want to put other people first. They particularly want to look after people who suffer, who are outcasts from society, or who are poor. We find that time and time again. When we're looking at crime and punishment, many Christians believe that it's much better to try and reform somebody, to try and make them good, even if they're a bad person, rather than vindictively punishing them and saying, we're going to revenge ourselves on you. That's why many Christians don't support the death penalty, for example. Okay? So again, it's that idea of agape, treating people with love, even those people who've done you wrong. And remember, that's exactly what Jesus says in Luke's Gospel. We might also say that we can include agape when we're talking about Christians and issues of peace and conflict. Okay? If you're a Christian, you should always be trying to find peaceful solutions to conflicts because you are trying to treat everybody with love. You're always being forgiving. You're always putting other people first because that is the key teaching of Christianity. And finally, in issues of family life, and that could be things like divorce, that could be things like just parents getting on with kids. Agape means acting with compassion towards people who've really annoyed you. Let's face it, in families we don't always do the nicest things to one another. Sometimes families can be very cruel places, and we can be cruel to people who love us very much. Or we can be really, really fed up with people. In those cases, agape is something that Christians think people should follow. They should be putting those other people first. They should be trying to act with love. So, make sure you've highlighted agape. Make sure you are thinking about learning just that simple verse, Matthew 5:45. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Okay? You might want to remember how to describe agape as unconditional love or self-sacrificial, but the most important thing you need to be able to do is to say, this is a new teaching of Jesus. Jesus is teaching his followers to love like God loves. And then there are lots of places where you can apply it. Good luck.